Yeah, baby. Yeah. The Mac is back with another video. Hello, the initiated. My name is Marcus Unicola, and today we're checking out Pacha Ethnic Orchestra by Strezov Sampling. Another Strezov library. Super excited for these ones every single time because they are one of my favorite developers, certainly when it comes to the sort of more organic orchestral or organic instruments area in general. So, what is this thing? Let's go to the website to learn a bit more about this. So, again, this is a part of the Ethnic Orchestra lineup, so there are other ones here as well. So, for example, last time we checked out Arabian Ethnic Orchestra, and then we have also Jade Evolutions, which is kind of like a sub release of Jade Ethnic Orchestra. But yeah, so basically those are the three main ones to my understanding. So Jade goes for that sort of, well, let's just go on the page. Chinese and Mongolian virtual instruments. Yep. And then for Arabian, well, we probably know what that entails. And Pacha, in this case, is the definitive South American virtual instrument collection, as Strezov says, created in collaboration with the renowned multi-instrumentalist Alejandro Fatur. That's my butchering of your name, Alejandro. I'm sorry. Please let me know how it's done. Featuring guitars, harps, woodwinds, percussion, and instant mood-setting elements. Ooh, I love myself some mood setting. This all-in-one toolkit sets a new standard for capturing the authentic spirit and sound of the region. So far, I absolutely love this series, this lineup, because these are super useful instruments libraries to have. Because if you're going for the sound of a region, of a part of the world, in the past, a few years ago, you'd had to kind of get those instruments individually, like look at, what instruments are part of the South American sound or that sort of region. And then you would have to Google those individual instruments and then look for those ones and listen to them. Obviously, a lot of them weren't so great, to be honest, especially when it got to these kind of obscure, more rare ethnic instruments that are difficult to source. A lot of them could do one aspect of the instrument well, but not the rest of it. So you would sort of put together this sort of a weird collection of instruments that just don't sound as good and don't mix together as well either. So I'm super happy that this kind of an approach is being taken because, well, I mean, first of all, it's Strezov, so they make fantastic stuff. But these are super simple ways of, let's say I want to write music in that sort of Chinese or Mongolian sound or South American sound or Arabian. So you can just buy that. It's going to have, if not all, then most of what you need to create that sound, and then just create music in that sound, with the instruments from that region. So big fan of this. It simplifies a lot. Not to, obviously, we're not even touching on how good the instruments are, but they are good, at least have been so far. Obviously, we don't know in Pacha's case now, but we'll see in a moment. And also, I have a personal interest. I have a project that I do want to get to sometime in the future, and that one mixes a lot of orchestral stuff with a lot of these kind of regionalized instruments and sounds. And this one, this whole lineup is plugging those holes in that project that I so desperately need and want. So I'm super happy this is they are continuing to expand this lineup because the South American sound was one of the things that I was missing. So that's super cool. First things first, price here is 149 euros right now. This is the intro price, I believe, which let's have a look when that stops. So intro price 149 euros, ends August 1st. And full retail price is going to be 199. And this is excluding VAT. So if you are VAT liable to pay, then that's going to come on top. But price-wise, I've found so far the ethnic orchestras to be super appealing, super competitive as well. Actually, great value for money, because you do get such a comprehensive kit of stuff in that sort of regionalized way. It provides that sound very comprehensively. So, and this has been a good thing, because Strezov libraries have been quite pricey before. Back in the day when most of these bigger libraries like Wotan and Freya were out, and then a few other things. Back then, I think everything was a bit pricey. Actually, I think these have come down in price as well, a bit at least. 275 for Freya and Wotan. But the thing to remember with these is that they are boutique sample libraries, and also, even though they are costly, like a flatus, for example, strings, is 799 euros. So that's a lot of money. But it's also one of the most, if not the most comprehensive string sample libraries out there. So when you contextualize it in that fashion, it actually does make a lot more sense than buying 3 or 4 other string sample libraries. Not to mention that many of them don't sound as good. So it's a bigger bullet to bite for sure, to pay that kind of price. But once you contextualize it in the context of the value and the scope you get, it's a different story. But long story short, these are like super competitive prices, even by the Strezov standards that I'm used to from in the past, which appears to have changed. So very cool to see that. We still have a few days before the first. Wait a minute, how many days do we even have? So I'm filming this on the 29th. I'll try and get this out as soon as possible. So you have about 3 days if you're watching this and getting that intro price. So couldn't get this video out sooner, but it is what it is. Hopefully better late than never. And obviously this will continue to be on the internet for future as well. We have some good videos here. Go check those out. I'm sure they are super useful. I'm not gonna spoil anything for myself unnecessarily, because I do want to give you my authentic first responses to this library. So I'm going in as blind as I possibly can. Got some audio demos. In terms of the description, they say this is the 4th installment in the World Orchestra series. I don't know which one the 4th is. Maybe it's Sambala. I don't know which one it is, because the naming system is a bit different, but cool. 50 diverse instruments, plucked strings, woodwinds, percussion, sound design elements. Really, well, actually, let's come to that sooner. Designed with authenticity in mind. Good. Features advanced tuning controls, special performance tools tailored to the unique playing styles and tonal characteristics of each instrument. Really liking this because, again, no matter how good your sampling and programming is when it comes to the individual notes, it can be super difficult, if not impossible, to, emulate or simulate some of the, specialized playing styles of, let's say, these plucked instruments. Without actually sampling the actual playing of it itself. So, yeah. All instruments are captured by two mic positions, close and far, split into 4 different categories. So again, we have pluck strings, woodwinds, percussion, and then sparks, which is this sound designy aspect of these ethnic orchestra libraries. I absolutely love the sparks. I think they sound fantastic. I think they are amazing. I would actually love to see this aspect expanded. I think it's sort of what happened is that they made the Jade Ethnic Orchestra, and then they made Jade Evolutions. And I think Jade Evolutions is kind of like Sparks, but they sort of maybe, I don't know, this is speculation, but sort of realized, oh, let's just sort of include that into the ethnic orchestra thing in itself. I love Jade Evolutions, so I would love to see the Sparks sort of expanded, or even the evolution releases of the other orchestral, the ethnic orchestra libraries as well. My only criticism of Sparks is that they do sound so good, but the thing is, you do have layering control. But at least in Arabian ethnic orchestra, you only had 3 different layers, and there's still some overlap. So you might mute percussive layers, but you might have some elements of percussion still, like random, small hits here and there, in another layer. So they're not like absolute in terms of splitting instrument content into each. And likewise, you might have some kind of ambient sound designy, synthy type of thing in another layer as well. So I would love to have more control over those, preferably as much as possible. So at the individual component level of a sound design element or synth element, etc. And since they created those sounds, I'm presuming that would be possible. It's probably a lot of work, and there's probably a lot of layers. But again, it's such a, you find such a beautiful soundscapey thing, and then you go like, oh, that's so amazing, I want to use that. And then there's that one thing that annoys you or doesn't fit into what you're aiming for, and then you can't get rid of it. And then you're like, so close, but not quite. So I would love to have more control over those for sure. Expressive legato woodwinds with tight shorts. Tight shorts sounds painful. I prefer like a looser fit if possible. Although I don't wear shorts ever because team no calves. So just makes me feel really awkward. Expressive woodwind instruments, true polyphonic as well as expressive monophonic. Cool. Loving that. Authentic guitars. 12 beautifully recorded authentic string instruments. 12. That's a lot. In a specialized, like regionalized context, especially. You got 3 chord types, major, minor, and dominant. And those are in chord tremolo swells, chord sustains, chord short, chord strum. Nice. Color coded. Percussion. Ooh, I'm really looking forward to that. The mixture of African, indigenous, and Hispanic roots is extensively represented. Yeah. We've recorded 29 different percussion instruments. High or low variation, hit by hand or with stick, wood or metal. Cool. And seems like it follows the extreme percussion library layout. Cool. Well, that seems to be it, just about. And what's left for us is to find out for ourselves. Few basic things before we get in here. First of all, Strezov Sampling did send me this copy, so thank you to them for doing so. That being said, all opinions are my own, both in good and bad. I haven't been asked to say anything one way or the other, nor would I ever do that. In terms of what you'll be hearing today, it's only Pacha in action. I don't add any effects of any sort on top of this. No EQ, no reverb, no compression, nothing. I only have a limiter on my master bus to make sure that the level for this video is as listenable, enjoyable, and consistent as possible. That being said, it's set to be as transparent as possible, so you should hear minimal, if any, coloring at all. If there is any clipping, I'll let you know where that's coming from, but in most cases it's the limiter clipping, because we need to adjust each sound in relation to the limiter, and sometimes clips happen, so bear with me as we figure that one out. The agenda for today is to play as much of this as possible, just to demonstrate what it sounds like coming out of the box, so that you can understand what it sounds like, how it behaves, how it plays, and then decide whether this is for you. This isn't going to be super technical unless there is specifically something that I want to dive into as it relates to the shaping of the sound. But otherwise, it's mostly going to be playing as much of this content as possible. One thing to also remember is that these are, regionalized instruments that are specific to that part of the world and that music and sound of that world. I am not a specialist in the music of that region, so a lot of the time I will be doing like my best approximation of what sounds decent with that instrument. But that's important to remember, because a lot of what makes the instrument sound good comes down to your ability as a composer to know what to write for that instrument. And if you want to do some kind of region specific music, you want to actually make it sound like it's coming from South America, then you've got to know how they write music for South America. And again, I'm sort of going based on ear, feel, and what I simply know about the music of that region. But I will try and do my best in that case. But it is important to remember that I'm sure many of you can do a better job out there than I can in this regard. And hopefully you can, from what I, am doing here, you can see or hear whether this can be applicable or whether this is a library that's going to fulfill your needs. Anything else we want to touch on regarding the basics? Oh yes, it is super hot in here, so I will be sweating my balls off as we go through this. Probably going to have to take a few breaks. It is getting cooler here in Finland, thank God, but still, seems like the building retains a lot of that heat, so it is quite hot in here. So excuse me as I turn into a puddle before your eyes. So, I guess firstly we could open, let me do a bit of a movie here, so you can see a bit how this is laid out. So library structure, very simple. Again, in the side rack view, if you use this, you see 4 folders. So plucked strings, woodwinds, percussion sparks. Very simple. We are now in plucked strings, and in here you get those 12 ones that they talk about. So we're going to go through this in this order, just as it is, and that's how it's laid out. Let me get this repositioned here. Looking at the, let's not open Fmod. We don't need Fmod. Looking at the interface here, first of all, this kind of uses or follows the same design principle and pattern that the Ethnic Orchestra has been doing for a while. Well, actually, I think most of Strezov libraries go for this kind of a look now, which looks great. It's just very nice to look at, nice design, good layout. Color balancing and contrast here looks good. On the left, you got 2 bars with the close mic and the far mic. You can turn them on and off. You can solo, mute, adjust levels, pan, do the width, etc. In the middle, down low, you can see the current articulation. There we go. So as I press these red keys here, we change the articulation, and you can also see the upper keys change accordingly as well. To the right, we have this kind of bigger sub-menu thing. What is this called? This is the main page, yeah, with the musical note there. So again, you can choose your legato style, I guess, for the lack of better. Sustain, monolegato, polylegato, mono speed, poly speed, release sample, control, ADSR curves, reverb, volume, and on and off selector. Cool. This is an options page. So you got some MIDI control over here. Key switches page, which is good because then you can, learn from this and adjust. And also we have a scales page. So I really love this because this is not only like a convenient compositional tool. And again, this can help you write music in a region-specific way. But personally, right now, I'm more interested in this as a learning tool because I can use those and realize, oh, okay, that's the scale. That's why this sounds the way it does. And these are the laws which the music uses. So I actually really like this. This can be super, super useful, especially for learning purposes. But of course, composition as well. Anything else here? I don't think so. This is where the name butchering begins because Cavaquinho, that's Cavaquinho. Cavaquinho. Is it like a J? I think it is. Cavaquinho. Let's go with that. I'm sorry for the butchering. But yeah, let's choose our articulation to be sustain and start playing. So this is kind of interesting, kind of like a very top-heavy, high note-heavy instrument. I actually want to see what that looks like. Cavaquinho. Cavaquinho. I'm trying to read the phonetic alphabet. Cavaquinho. Sure. That's it. We nailed it. I know I nailed it. Small Portuguese string instrument in the European guitar family. Okay. Cool. It has that kind of a bit of a kind of a stingier sound. That's not necessarily like a negative thing. Let's do staccato. Cool, so nice staccato there. Mordente. So yeah, again, you could sort of play that with the sustains and staccatos combined, but that just gives you that extra control. And it will be a bit of like a key switch dance. Obviously, you don't have to do that in real time. You can program that as well. But these kind of small details will make a huge difference in realism. So trill major. Let's have this in minor. Chord tremolo. Okay, so these are the major, minor, dominant. So these are really super, super useful. Again, to do this in any other way other than sampling, usually not a good idea. Went a bit black metal there in the beginning. Chord tremolo swell. Yeah, again, to do that any other way than sampling is usually not going to end well. So what I'm thinking here is a repetition key would be super good. Because again, if I want to do that kind of, I know this is just chord sustain and they have the strumming. So interested in seeing the difference there. Let's actually check it out before we judge. But let's do chord shorts in between. Okay, strumming, so it means that. So yeah, I would say having a repetition, because it holds up, I'm actually surprised it holds up this well. So if I try and do like a kind of a, I guess more like a, that would be like a mandolin strumming type of thing. But it behaves pretty well for that. It's a bit of like, yeah, it's definitely, I find that when you keep the dynamic differences between the strumming, it sounds a lot better. So keep it like more drastic instead of the dynamics closer to each other. And then it sounds like you're actually doing that. In a mix, that would be no issue. Maybe on its own can sound a bit sterile, but if you shift the timing there, I think you can probably get pretty far. Cool. So that's kind of like, we're not going to do all of the articulations for all of these because that would take too long, but I wanted to have a look at each of them, at least in one instrument. Also, let's check out the mic positions real fast. So this is the close mic. Let's actually, yeah, let's go back to sustains. Also, forgive me my very drummer playing here. I don't have the finger dexterity motor control to do exactly what I'm doing. So I usually split between hands as a drummer, so it's easier for me to, you know, play things. But hopefully the sound is what matters most here for demonstrative purposes. Far mic. Ooh, that's really nice. Let me up the volume here a bit because it is, of course, a lot quieter. Yeah, I really like these far mic positions. Let's do them. Let's do them together. Let's bring down the volume. Sorry about that. My bad. Yeah, really cool. There's a big scope between these two, which is great because the far mic is really far, but has a beautiful, nice ambience. So you can easily, you have a very wide control of the depth of this. What I would like to see is a single slider that combines both of these into a single control. So I could slide to the left and have it be more close focused and go to the right, for example, to have more far mics in there, instead of individually adjusting these. To me, it feels a bit of like a bit of an archaic thing at this point when we could integrate it into one control. Nothing wrong with this. Again, this is kind of the standard, but when I work with individual mics, it's sort of usually I start with the one that I'm more going for, the mic sound, and then I sort of blend in the other one as I'm playing to get an understanding of what I'm after. But again, that's a bit maybe more laborious, takes longer. So a single slider would be quite cool. Cool. Nice. Let's move on to the next one. Let's do more name butchering. Charango Maulincho. I don't know why I'm sounding Italian there. That's not right. Charango. Yeah. Charango Maulincho. That's the official pronunciation. It's another kind of top heavy. I love the slower end of this instrument, so I wish there was more of it. Sorry, Charango. I'm criticizing your fundamental nature. Beautiful, snappy, poppy quality. There's also a bit of like unevenness in how the transients express themselves, but I find it to be absolutely beautiful. It creates more sort of rawness and realism also, in a sense. Gotta do these inversions. Yeah, I like that some of the notes here are sort of, that expresses itself very differently to this, which is like a open sustain thing. And that's clearly more like a pluck. So it's kind of like, I would need to know whether the instrument always does that. I would presume so, because that would be kind of an interesting thing otherwise. Yeah, I love this low end of this. Cool. Okay, so normal charango without the, what was it, Maulincho? Yes. beautiful expressiveness. This is the X factor that I talk about with Strezov stuff, which is the very difficult thing to kind of quantify. Like, what is the emotion? What is the human element? Whatever it is, they just can bake it into, from those performances, into these samples. And again, this sounds so expressive and human-like to me. I really love this, especially the slow end here of this instrument. So I'm gonna randomly sort of touch on some of the different articulation depending on what I'm sort of interested in, but yeah, nice work on the release samples there. It's really, really appropriate to the instrument. Cuatro. Let me pull down this level just a bit so we don't catch any of those top end transients. Again, one of the issues with I gotta sort of balance the level with the retaining the transient authenticity of these. Actually do want to put some more level in there. Might catch some of the extreme transient ends, but it's not going to be, shouldn't be super colored. Absolutely beautiful. Again, this is even more X factor on the Cuatro. I mean, there's so many of these instruments. Why are there 12 in this region alone? Latin American string instruments, Colombia, Puerto Rico, Venezuela. It is derived from the Spanish guitar. Some have viola-like shapes. Most cuatros resemble a small to mid-sized classical guitar. Yeah, I mean, there's so many variants of these guitar-like instruments. Yeah, I just love how some of the textures with the transients sort of spill a bit over. They become a bit sort of raw and splashier. Amazing. I love the sound of this. Again, this is like the X Factor thing. It sounds so human and so soulful. I really, really love this. Also, what I'm seeing here is that although this is done in this regionalized South American style for those instruments, I already see a tremendous amount of overlap, because you could simulate and do a bunch of other stuff from other regions of the world as well with these. And you could, what I love doing a lot of the time is pairing a lot of guitar-like or a sort of similar pluckier instruments together to create the perfect texture that I'm after. So I can already see that this can really do also wonders in many, many other styles and genres as well. Not genres, but, you know, regions of the world with different types of music. Guitarra. Okay, that's superb. Again, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I can see this being like one. Obviously, it's called a guitarra, which again I want to look up because I don't exactly know what that is. Like the specifics of this guitar instrument. Is it just okay? It is just guitar, but it's like a regionalized way of saying it. I'm guessing. Because I am not getting anything other than that. Seems like it. Sorry if I get that wrong. But this is just like, period, one of the best acoustic guitar sample library sounds that I've played ever. And I've got some really good ones. But the thing about this is, again, the soulfulness, the emotion, the human X factor thing. Because the textures here are just so beautiful. The sound is so like soft and supple. So yeah, this is just stunning. And again, this is like, if you're really doing a lot of guitar sample library stuff or guitar-based music and you use sample libraries, this alone might be worth, like, if you like that sound. You could do like singer-songwriter stuff even with this and just find it to be worthwhile. This is really, really amazing. Staccato. Yep. Let's do, yeah, the chords. Again, here, the doubling strumming key would be great. I can hear on this that's not quite like, I don't know, it would be easier if I had the second doubling key. Like usually it's like a yellow key trigger that repeats the note that I just played. But this would allow me to control the dynamics a lot better. Again, when I have like a very heavy weighted keyboard like this, it doesn't return super, super fast. So it can be difficult to control that. And also, if it is a faster keyboard, which I do have in the form of that guitar back there, it might be sort of too fast. And when I have a bit of weight in the keyboard, I can feel a bit more what it's like to strum a guitar. So, but let me test this a bit more. Yeah, so there we can hear the pool of strumming dynamics and the different textures and, well, just the diversity of the sample pool isn't super big because we can hear a bit of those repeats there. And again, like I can hear certain samples repeating, and also there isn't like a completely fluent flow in terms of trying to emulate a real player there. But I feel like, again, this depends on how I play it. I can definitely, in the context of like a full song, if I'm doing simple strumming, that's going to be perfectly realistic and passable. But I would need to control that very specifically. But in terms of doing like super sophisticated, realistic strumming stuff, no, not gonna do that. But there, if I do something like that, that's going to be super realistic, certainly in the context of like a full group or like an actual song. So even though it's not going like hyper realistic in terms of having all the areas of the strumming spectrum covered and mapped and programmed into here, it's still, I mean, just like that sample alone. It just sounds really, really good. So even if they're not going for like a super high resolution sound for that strumming, it still holds up amazingly well. One thing here, you can hear this D minor here. It doesn't have the same aggressiveness, same texture as these other ones. And I'm hitting it as hard as I can, so it's not me. So here, to be fair, I might be missing something in terms of how I can improve this expressiveness here. Yeah, so I don't have... Yeah, I don't think there is a way... I just don't think that's in the sample pool. But again, even if it's done this way, this is remarkably good, even without the depth of resolution that I'm after. This guitar is just insanely good. Guitarron. Okay, Google. I mean, yeah, okay. Guitarron Mexicano. Is that butchering enough? Big Mexican guitar. I like that it has the big in there. Is a very large, deep-bodied. Ooh, sounds like my kind of guitar. Mexican six-string acoustic bass guitar played traditionally in mariachi groups. My mariachi playing isn't up to what it used to be. Although similar to the guitar, it's not a derivative of that instrument, but was independently developed from the 16th century. Independently developed. So it was like a startup thing. 16th century Spanish Bayo de Uña. Or is it Bajo de Uña? I don't fucking know. Because its great size gives it volume. This is like reading like an erotic novel or something. I'm sure it's me. It's not the writer of this Wikipedia article writer, but it does not require electric amplification for performances in small venues. Fretless with heavy gauge strings, most commonly nylon. I don't know why it's the heat, why my reading is poor. Nylon for the high 3 and wound metal for the low 3. Ooh. Nice. Okay. Unlike a guitar, the pitch of the guitar and strings do not always rise as the string moves directionally downward from the lowest pitch. God damn. This seems cool. Yeah, right off the bat, the expressiveness of that is just insanely good. I love this. I mean, this, if you like this sound, even beyond the South American regionalized sound, this could be worth getting alone for this sound. Beautiful. And I love how this, again, there we have like, that's not like a harmonic playing, but it has that kind of a harmonic like aura. What's the word? It's like a resonance, like a kind of the sound radiates in a different way there. And beautifully there in the sort of lower end to medium dynamic, beautiful kind of radiant sound there. And then when you push harder, you get that nice snappy transient. This is insanely good. I know this is not very mariachi-like, but again, I'm just trying to respond to what I'm hearing here. This slow end is so beautiful. It has this kind of very tasteful, nice, very, very minor boominess there, which is beautiful. Super difficult to do because very often plucked guitar sample libraries, they sort of, when they go for that low end, they either don't have enough of that body or they have too much boominess altogether. And this has a beautiful, beautiful level of that energy without becoming overbearing. Yeah, that top end. I mean, I could just play this all day. It's absolutely stunning, beautiful. I mean, to me, this already offers a tremendous amount of value. We're not even halfway through the picked instruments, and this could be like, that could be a library on its own, just the guitar there, and it would be worthwhile because it's that good. Such a beautiful, soft, expressive sound. Obviously, it does. You can only do music in that style, but or with that sound, I should say. But my God, is it a beautiful sound? I want to do some chords again here. Okay, we got some really interesting resonances there. They're definitely dissonant. So again, these are the kind of things, I don't know if that's really just a part of what the instrument does. Then we have a bit of it there in the beginning. Then it kind of evens out as it sustains. There we have definitely more of it. That doesn't seem like that could be something that could pass Strezov sampling by accident. So I'm thinking it's the natural resonance there. I mean, that's just such a beautiful sound. it's kind of weird because I start to like that dissonance. But obviously, if you don't want to go for that, then that's going to be troubling. Would be interesting to hear what they say about that. Next up, Matungo. I don't know where I'm getting these ways of pronouncing these, but it is what it is. Let's play first and then Google after. That's what she said. This is a bit more resonant, so I'm going to pull back some of this level. Interesting. So it's kind of like a very mid-rangey thing there. Has a bit of like that mandolin-like roundness. Let's see. That doesn't look right. So apparently it's a band, at least. Instrument. Brazilian music day. Matungo is a Black Brazilian term for a set of bells. I read balls, but this cannot be right. Bells? What? Do I dare go onto this website? So it seems like this is pretty obscure. An obscure one. Oh, this is a big page. Where's Matungo? Set of bells that are formed from iron bars of different hefts and lengths. No, this doesn't seem right. Okay, so it's probably like a term that they use. Sort of can be related to kind of what they talk about there. Could this be... Is it in the manual? I don't know. Anyway, sounds like a mandolin-like thing. Cool. Has a more of that kind of resonant, radiant sound. Very interesting range. Paraguayan. Yeah. Paraguayan harp. What? Wow. That's beautiful. That's like, it has this kind of ghostly, sparse sound to it, and a bit of like let me play a bit more. Really interesting sound. It's kind of like a mixture of a harp and then a bit of like that, a bit of like a mandolin type of a quality. And then that's a really, really cool one. Again, a lot of potential even beyond the kind of regionalized music style here. So this has a lot of overlapping power in doing other kind of going for sounds of other regions or styles. And oftentimes I love these kind of instruments that come from these more obscure regionalized libraries, because a lot of them are reminiscent of a sound that it's like a guitar or harp, but not quite. There's something like different. So if you're going even for like a completely new sound, like a sci-fi world or fantasy, you can use these ones to create like a shift in the world and create a different specialized sound for it. So I really, really like these for that reason. Requinto Siano. This is not Italian, but that's what you get. Wow. A great example of what I was just talking about. I wouldn't even know where to like place that. Again, I don't exactly know what I'm looking for. There's a guitar named Requinto. Handmade half-size nylon guitar built with solid cedar top and mahogany backs. And so it's getting really hot here right now. Jeez. I begin to really sweat balls here. Yeah, seems like but it's really cool how it's, I can hear like a doubling octave type of thing. Or then it's kind of like, almost like a banjo-like thing there. But yeah, absolutely beautiful instrument. Again, like combining a bunch of different things. You could do some really unique, cool stuff with that. Very impressed. The temperature here is, wow. This is gonna get sweaty and dirty. Ronroco. So this I like when, obviously this doesn't go high, but this is like a mid-high focused one. But this is really cool because a lot of plucky instruments get a bit pushy to my taste here. So this one is super cool because it kind of has this kind of scooping element there. It's kind of like pulling back and then emphasizes the transients. So I really would love to use this for this kind of range of the plucky guitar-ish type of thing. What's wrong with my playing? Yeah, that's a beautiful one. Again, this kind of has that ukulele, mandolin, maybe more like ukulele thing, but it's beautifully controlled and snappy and has that kind of splashy resonance there with the transients as well. Really, really cool. Tipple. Wizard Tipple. Ooh, we got two regions here. Again here, has that kind of pitchy quality, so this just must be a part of how it is. Let's take a quick break. I'll go to the bathroom and get some fresh air. We'll be back. We'll Google the tipple, and we'll try and figure it out a bit better from that information. Tipple, or Tipple, I don't know. Literally treble or soprano, is a particular type of guitar, typically 10 or 12 strings, but sometimes fewer. Cool. A tipple player is called a tipplista. Okay, interesting. It doesn't quite explain the separation here. I would maybe assume that this has something to do with the split of hands, but I don't know. Well, I don't know if that's how it's meant to be done. That's what I would sort of intuit from the interface. Regardless, beautiful, beautiful sound. It does have that kind of 12-string sparkle, so that's actually really cool. I do think that's cool. And again, it kind of can bridge a lot of different gaps between kind of sounding like a guitar thing, but not having that sort of a sparkly resonance. Tres. So kind of a more resonant, splashier guitar thing. Let me increase the volume here. Yeah, beautiful sound. I love how much the combination of these give you such a wide spectrum and depth of what to do with these plucky guitar instruments. So super, super useful, even far beyond the regional aspect of this type of music. I'm going to close the plucked strings and go into woodwinds. This will be very interesting. So let's get this roughly positioned once again here. There we go. And this one is called Antara. And we have articulation, sustained plus legato. So this is in polylegato mode. Let me go straight into mono because I do want to kind of, that to me shows best how obviously the monophonic legato works, but how the legato works, period. The poly is a great tool to have, but you kind of need to know how it works and what to do with it. Sometimes it can sound even better than combined mono legatos, but let me start with the mono and go from there. gonna pull back the level here a bit. That is the limiter clipping. It does get, you know, as the note rings out, it begins to resonate and strengthen, so. So here, to me, the legato doesn't sound super smooth. It's a bit like, this like does come with a caveat of this instrument. This is a really, for some reason, really, I don't know if I've ever heard this instrument sort of done in a super smooth legato fashion, but it's a weird one because it's such a like a resonant instrument, but super airy. So a lot of the realism really comes down to what you actually put there in the sample. So here, for example, if we go full bore on the dynamic there and listen to this ring out. Obviously it doesn't ring out, but it begins to loop that higher kind of vibrating part. If you go lower velocity, we just have a steady note. So I would actually probably I don't know, I would need to tweak the ADSR curves quite a bit here, but like it seemed, the transitions seem a bit blockier than what I would like. And it's such a difficult instrument because I feel like I would sort of want to have more dynamic movement a bit in the samples because they sort of stay very there's not a lot of dynamic movement there in the sample themselves, so then I find I need to move the mod wheel a lot, but it doesn't quite pull off what I'm after here. Also, we should check out the speeds here, monophonic speed. Yeah, that actually helps a ton, a lot. Yeah, a lot. I'm also hoping for that I could get a bit more glide between the notes on some of these notes. I feel like that would be super appropriate. Let me actually, I want to reset this for the ADSR curve. Yeah, on some of the notes we get, like there you heard some of that gliding in there. Okay, yeah, this is in poly by default. Also, I'm not sure how much I dig the far mic here. Oh, it's the reverb. Okay. Let me turn that off. Yeah, you gotta be, to me, the reverb here gets a bit too washy. So I would probably want to go more with something a bit roomy or sort of less dreamy. Also, mono speed seems to work across the board a lot better in the faster mode. Oh, I should say at 0%. Actually, I do take that back. This is so dependent. Again, one of the things I want to touch on is playing something appropriate to the instrument. This is like not an instrument that particularly speaks a lot to me, but it's of course a very central part of the region, the sound of the region. But I find that when I sort of sparse this out, do something easier, then it begins to come alive a lot better. Let me pull back the reverb to something like 30%. Yeah, I feel like a bit more glide. There's something like when I'm pulling back the mod wheel, I don't quite get a change in the sort of the expression of it. Like when I say expression, like the control of the dynamic there sort of baked into the sample. So it's a bit sort of, it just sounds like a volume kind of a thing to me. So I don't get that kind of textural shifting that I'm looking for, which for me influences the perception of the realism a lot. But I would need to do quite a bit of programming there, writing the parts exactly right, doing probably a lot of the speed work there for the legato as well. But yeah, let's move on. Going to Chuli. Yeah, this feels a lot better to me. Well, let's go mono legato once again. Seems a bit quieter as well. Yeah, there I would, when I pull back on that, I would expect like sort of more natural smoothing dynamic fade out, but it's kind of like I would maybe feel a lot better if these samples didn't kind of just sustain as you played them, but they actually had a sort of a natural, I guess decrescendo or fading out sort of naturally as the player would sort of ease out of it. I think that would make a massive difference for me in terms of realism and flow. Yeah, this is really good. I cranked up the mono speed. yeah, there, like having a sort of an easier, smoother out. But it kind of needs almost a sample to be there because right now the mod wheel just doesn't do what I'm after. ADSR curve, tweaking, sure, gets a part of it. Let's try some of these other articulations here. Yeah, it's a really cool sound, even, just beyond the realism of it as well. I'm missing that to have some kind of like a glide there between some of the notes. I wonder if there is like, I don't think there is anything that allows me to do that. You can sort of do those kind of faster glides, but it doesn't nail the sound that I'm after. And I'm kind of surprised because to me it seems like very, very appropriate for the sound of the region. Those kind of sort of glides between notes. Cool. Malta. Yeah, this is a lot better. Plays sort of better to me, and also has that kind of texture and a bit of that dynamic fluctuation that creates the realism there. I would still expect when I'm pulling back the mod wheel to go to those to have actually sound like the player is easing into it. And I've heard quite a lot of this type of music, and that's what I hear very often. But it would be very difficult to just do with this. I feel like you would need to sample the actual easing out of it from the player, I would think. But yeah. Next up, Moxenho. I don't know. Okay, now we're talking. This seems to be doing more what I'm chasing. Yeah, see, there's those slight, tiny glide nuances in there, which really, really add to the realism a lot. This is a super nice, kind of soft, warm, dusty kind of a thing, the sound of it. So yeah, again, when I pull back, it takes the tremolo vibrato thing out, but it doesn't kind of like glide out of there. So I'm starting to think that the function of this, how they thought about this, was very different to what I would like to have. I would probably then need to play with the decay and the sustain here to kind of simulate what I'm after. And also we need to think through the parts that I'm doing, because it kind of like this makes me think they don't do a lot of those long notes, but they end sort of earlier. I don't know. Yeah, this one to me like is like what's the word? I forgot it. I literally had it in my head. Catches my ear in a very different way to the other ones. Like this, the slight glides and nuances there sound very appropriate to this instrument, and those are what I would expect also from pretty much all the other woodwinds we played also so far. But it's super effortless. I just need to find the notes, and it kind of adds in all that instrument specific magic. So this is really, really nice. I also like how kind of dusty and almost in a way like lo-fi this is. It's obviously very natural to the instrument, because you get the kind of airiness, of course, of the playing, but then there's that bit of raspy resonance next to the wood itself that creates this kind of noise profile there. But I like how this is beautifully warm. Yeah, this is my favorite by far so far out of these woodwinds here. Really nice. Oh, Ocarina. That's interesting. Okay, so these are Ocarina effects. You get a lot of, let's see, how many? Improvisation set. What? 12 sets. And you get each in like a unique improv in each key. Yeah, these are really cool. Just adding some of these into your tracks is going to give that like authenticity very, very easily. Very comprehensive set of these. I mean, what, 12 times 36? That's a lot. And then we have normal ocarina. What a weird, beautiful, strange sound. It's like ghostly and haunting. It sounds a bit like vocal, but bird-like as well. And this weird resonance is there as well. I'm really bad at doesn't strike me as what I've learned or remembered what the ocarina sounds like. But I'm not an ocarina expert either. But it sounds sort of more glidey. But that's a really, really cool sound. Very interesting. Something called the Pincullo. Pincullo? Cuyo? Sure. Yeah, so see here, again, this is doing those beautiful glides and textures and shifts between the notes. This is what I would expect from all of these, but they don't all do that. So this is really nice. Yeah, very cool. Quena. Absolutely stunning. This sings beautiful. It has that very special, like, magic X factor here in the top. I mean, these are sort of seem vocal almost. They have this beautiful singing quality to them, but sort of a wooden resonant thing. But it's some like an aura, some kind of a glow there. Yeah, that's probably my favorite out of the woodwinds so far. That's really stellar. Beautiful sound. That's really, really cool. Amazing. Quenacho. Beautiful. I don't know why, probably halfway through these started to do the glidey, textural, cool stuff that I really enjoy, but I'm really happy they're in here. I mean, really good. love that beautiful kind of trashy edge there when you get to the lower notes. It's just like, so it's like growly and trashy, but you can hear the wood. Absolutely beautiful textures there. Zanca. Cool. That was the woodwinds. Some very, very, very cool stuff in there. I think it sort of got better the deeper we got. That is indeed what he said. Cool. Closing the woodwinds, going into percussion. This seems to only open up this one window, and then you navigate inside this one here. So let's center that vertically there. Okay, let's get our bearings here. Oh yeah, this deploys the zones thing, which always takes me some time to familiarize myself with that. But I do remember that I came to the conclusion that it's super, super useful once you understand how it works. Cool. So what I see here is folders. Wow, there's quite a lot of stuff in here. So, low drums. Okay, these seem to be louder. Okay, let's just start going through them here. So they're called effects. I'm not sure. Those are kind of like some kind of crescendo movements. Really cool to have those inclusions there, because again, it can be very difficult to do by just playing. You can do it with some libraries if the sampling is done in the right way, but bombo, leguero, head. And these kind of patterns are super useful when you're dealing with like region-specific things that can be very difficult to play in or emulate, or maybe you don't even know what they are. So it's really nice to have those as options. Yeah, so here the idea is kind of like that you would throw in different instruments into the different zones, and then you can build your own set, your own kind of kit, which is actually really, really, really cool. Really cool sound. I love when drum heads have those kind of resonances that it sounds like almost like noise or distortion. Yeah, highly dynamic stuff here. If you did hear any kind of nasty distortion there, it was the limiter. But yeah, super big dynamics there. I actually love that because that's super expressive. Yeah, it sounds like something on the head is like there's something resonating there. So you shouldn't mix that with any kind of limiter distortion because it's not that. Cool. So one of the things that I remember having as a criticism is, because I know you can load presets in here. You can make them, obviously you can save them here, but also load. But I don't know if they are sort of, do they give you any pre-loaded presets? I think they must. Where do I find those though? Because I would expect when I go into the load window, it would open that for me. I'm just going to take a moment to try and locate that. Okay, Pacha ethnic orchestra, samples, that's not what we want. Instruments, percussion, no, that only has the NKI. Documentation. So I don't think there are presets here for this. I could be wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong, because kind of pre-made kits here would be absolutely superb. But let's continue our individual playing here. I love how that has like a wet transient edge there. Really cool. Yeah, I love these pre-made or sampled patterns here. They're just going to be super useful. One thing that I do notice that these individual samples here, or individual things, compared to the effects, have a vastly lower dynamic range. They're not as dynamic, even close. Like there's a 6 dB difference there. So just something you need to keep in mind, because if we take the conga low effects here, I'm pretty sure I can pull back my limiter. Yeah, it depends on the pattern, but differences can be quite significant. Low Sachabombo. That was the limiter. Yeah, these are really cool. Huancara. Cool. High drums. I could probably make this easier for myself and choose a zone that's closer to me. Let's do that. So I will say the texture here, especially how it relates to the transients here, is absolutely beautiful. I mean, the kind of the wetness here and how tangible the sound is. I feel like I can touch it almost. Very like wet, crispy. That's really cool. Yeah. Imaging superb. Transients absolutely amazing. I feel like it gets confused there when I try and play like a flam. It kind of thinks I'm trying to do something else. Yeah, it can't do very super fast things there somehow. I feel like it's interpreting my playing differently. I like how this is balanced because sort of at first glance, it sounds very understated, but this would actually be great in a mix because everything comes across what it needs to do, but it's sort of like, I would imagine like a tribal, you know, there's a fire burning, there's a ritual going or whatever else, and this would sort of be in the back. I do notice that, although we see here, like, for example, this sounds better, but like for the conga, for example, like we don't get like a super low dynamic there. And nor super high, I feel like. They sound really good, but it's not like we don't get like a extremely dynamic range there, which is kind of interesting because then the effects do have that. And like here, these come across as kind of one-shotty instead of being like a super dynamic, playable thing. Like this is the quietest I can do. Going into shakers. The ever existing challenge of range sticks, that it's always like that frequency that gets to your ear. I will say these bells, I'm guessing, they kind of sound like it's a bell of sorts. Really nice, beautiful sound. Oftentimes these can get really annoying to your ear and just like hyper resonant. But these have a nice natural presence without losing the sound or the point of the instrument. Yeah, gotta love myself some mouth harp equivalents. Ooh, that has a nice profile. The cajon is a fantastic instrument. But again, here, for example, you would want to combine, for example, the bass with the high. So that's how you could do it. You can put them in different zones and then build your kits. I actually really like this layout. It's super, super useful. So yeah, that's good. Again, I'm kind of wishing or missing that they would have pre-made kits here. I'm pretty sure I'm missing this, but I can't. I remember this was the same case when I went to look at some of the kits in a previous library, but I couldn't find any files that you could load in that loads pre-made kits here. So maybe that doesn't exist, but it seems like a I'm sorry if I'm missing that, but wow, that's a super cool instrument. Very cool. Definitely going to do something with that. Interesting. Yeah, cool. A lot of very classic sounds to the region, obviously. I want to, in all fairness, to Strezov here, I want to check whether I can locate any pre-made kit combinations for this. So let's get the manual here. And let's look for percussion here. Have a look. So single hits based on extreme engine. Effects, additional improvised short phrases, different for every particular instrument. Let's see. High-low variation, hit by hand or sticks or other stuff. Cool. You assign different instruments to zones. Makes sense. That's what we know. The library is loading only the instruments which are active in the 12 zones into your RAM. Cool. Click on any zone. Cool. Yep. It doesn't seem like they have pre-made presets here. Yep. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any pre-made ones here. I just wanted to check, to be fair. I think that would be like a no-brainer, really important addition here, because the introduction to this percussion section here is otherwise, the slope is pretty steep otherwise. So I know that most users would love to just be able to open up a few different presets that would be pre-made combinations of different zones that combine these sounds into pre-made kits, so they can start playing immediately instead of having to go into zones and select drums immediately. So I think that would be a fantastic, if not almost like a necessary addition in my estimation, at least if you want to like offer a better product out of the box. So you could just design some pre-made kits so that people can start playing and get into it, get to know the sound, start making music. And then, of course, then they can make their own kits as well by going into the zones. But I think that's like a no-brainer addition that Strezov sampling could do. With obviously take some time to put those together, but it's like I think it's definitely worth it for sure. So that would be nice. So yeah, they do mention that those are like one shots, so they're not like hyper dynamic or hyper sort of versatile in terms of the texture there. But I will say that they still remarkably well hold up, despite being sort of very one-shotty as they seem to be. And some of them work better than the others, but yeah, still super, super great sounding. Next up, we're going to go into, let's open this up here and move this for you to see. So, turn off the percussion, turn on the spark. So again, there's just that one NKI that you open up. Let's make sure there's nothing in the screen here that we're missing. Looks like we're good to go. And then get this somewhat set up here. So I'm going to have another quick break here. And after that, we're going to have a look at the sparks. All right, moving into sparks. Very excited for these because these have been super, super solid. I feel like they've added the category description here. When I click on the bird, it says fantasy. When I click on this weird thing, it says sci-fi. So I think these are new. That the title there is a new addition, which I think is good because I did give criticism on that because it's hard to know what they mean if there's nothing there saying. So I'm happy for that addition. On the left, interestingly enough, we see only 2 layers, at least for what's opened up here. I don't know if that changes, but it says drone and percussion. So if this is what I think it is, this is even less layers than in Arabian ethnic orchestra, which is not exactly the direction I would be wanting to go. But again, depends on what's in the layers. So let's just start playing these ones. It doesn't seem like there's a super ton of them. So let's get into it. Yeah, so same thing as in Arabian ethnic orchestra. I think the percussion gives you like the initial hit of percussion. So let's solo that. Yeah, so this is what's a bit weird to me, because we can hear those plucky guitar things there. You could argue that they are percussive in their nature somehow, but I would actually want to have just the percussive elements in the layer and have then, the kind of, well, like I said, I would love to have all of this divided into individual layers, so I could take what I love and not use the things that are not catering to my song. But this is like, because I like that guitar a lot, but if I wanted to remove the percussion, I would also lose the guitar. So that's not good. Let's see what's in the drone layer. So all these beautiful things in there, and I don't have control over those, which, like, for example, I would probably remove that kind of more aggressive woodwind element, and then use the more sort of ambient things. I would love for those kind of pad synthy things be a thing of its own, then have the atmosphere woodwinds do their own thing. Because this sounds absolutely beautiful. It's such a beautiful, full sound that they've created here. Yeah, the low end there is beautiful. It's just a bit much to me to have this kind of wash of percussion there hitting you. So yeah, I mean, workarounds, you could automate some of the volume there to dip them out when you don't want them. But again, this is like not an ideal solution. I don't know why they want to bake in a lot of stuff into a single layer versus do them individually. I generally don't know. I know it's more work for sure, but surely we could, since you have the audio files, we could just individually print them and then put them on their own layers, and then just have a on and off switch there. I think that would just be so amazing for these libraries, and that's why I'm pressing on it. That's why I'm being sticking on this point, because it would just make these so much better, like exponentially, like many times better, because I would have that control, I would have that versatility, and these are so good in creating ambiances, and so I just would wish that I had the control over that. Let's do Enchanted Borders. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, that there's so many beautiful things going on here. First of all, like, the balance of everything is stunning. Beautiful elements there. Like, we had the woodwind effect thing going there. Beautiful. But if I was doing like a ambient track, a soundscapey track for that, that would be just a bit too dense to my taste, like a bit too much stuff going on. So I would want to, or at least I would want to ramp up to that. But now I just don't have the option. I mean, here is the drone on its own. So for example, there, the shimmery synth sound there is quite a prominent element. And if you don't want to use that, if you don't like that, it's kind of like tough luck. You can't do anything about it. So I just wish, again, I'm repeating myself, but I really wish they changed this. I really wish we had layers for each of those elements, because these are so well done otherwise. for example, there, again, I don't know why we have woodwinds in the percussion layer, but that's like an ambient thing. Then we have like a lower droney thing there. Why is that in the percussion layer? And then there's that one drum that sort of keeps hitting, which I want to remove because it kind of makes it a bit restless to me. So I just wish, please give me layer control, because these are just so good otherwise. These are like top tier things. Yeah, again, same thing. Super beautiful, but a bit crowded to my taste. Like too many things going on. I'd love to kind of undress some of that. Cool. Nice. A bit of like some elements repeat, understandably. And again, greater reason for having that layer control there. But yeah, I mean, it's just like super atmospheric, very beautiful. Going into sci-fi. What a beautiful percussive hit there. Cool. Very nice. All right. I think that's it. Time to start wrapping this up. I'm going to make this just a bit wider here so that I can keep track of what I want to say here. So let's get this aligned. Okay, so overall, super impressive. I would probably say, I mean, I know of nothing else that can offer you this, like do the South American sound so comprehensively in one package at this price point, at this quality. And I said that same thing about the Arabian Ethnic Orchestra, and I think that's true, as far as I know. There are obviously other libraries also out there, but that I know of don't do this. I've never seen anything like this. So super impressed. Intro price, super appealing. Even at full price, extremely appealing to me. Going section by section. Plucked strings, absolutely stellar. So a few instruments here on their own, like the Guitarra, and I think Guitarron as well. Was it? I'm trying to remember everything. I think it was the Matungo. No? Anyway, a few plucked instruments in there are just insanely good, just on their own. Like so good that if you really loved the sound of them and you write a lot of music with that, that could justify getting this on its own. Super, not only playable, beautiful sounding, but they have this beautiful, soft, human, emotional X factor. And beautiful textures and nuances and these kind of so-called noises in there that make them super realistic and emotional and just fantastic. Also insane scope in the plucked strings. You get a very comprehensive set of guitar or guitar-like plucked string instruments. And so the overlap here means that you could sort of put a few of them together and get like your perfect expression of a guitar-like instrument in your part. So, and that's often what I do. I combine actually like different sample libraries, not only, but different instruments to sort of cover different ranges of the part that I'm writing to get the perfect sound that I'm looking for. But yeah, extremely comprehensive set of things here. And one of the things I again want to emphasize and note is that the sound of these go far beyond the South American regional music in that sort of ethnic sense. So I would just have a look at these, even if you're not interested at all in making South American, traditional sounding music. But the guitar, you could do like, singer-songwriter kind of stuff with that, folk music, in a sort of a more, I guess, Western sense with that. So extremely good. I can't emphasize just how good a couple of the guitars were. They're just so S tier to me. Woodwinds, this was kind of like an interesting thing because I found that the Antara, Chuli, I think Malta, probably halfway here, after the Ocarinas, I started hearing more of the qualities that I was sort of expecting from the first half, which was more of these kind of glides and slight texture, transitional things that happen between notes that make the realism. And pretty much for some reason, the five last ones, the second half of this section started doing that, and the first half didn't do it for me. So I would probably have to do more programming, be like super specific about how I do things if I wanted to make the parts realistic sounding for me. But I think, yeah, like the Quena, the Quenacho, Toyo, those were all like so good. You get the slight glides and textures between the notes that happen when they're actually being played. So I would love to hear more of that in the first half of this folder. But again, I'm not an expert on these instruments. Maybe some of it just doesn't happen. Maybe some of it isn't possible. Maybe I'm supposed to play parts that don't really do that. But I was still, like, I've listened to music from this region a fair bit, and I would still expect to hear those things from these instruments as well. So I don't know what's really happening there, but I would expect more of those transitional glides and textures to be there. And also, and again, not an expert on these instruments, but I would expect to have more, because the mod wheel wasn't like a dynamic control, really. It was controlling whether you get that vibrato, tremolo type of thing at the end of the notes or not. And then there was like a bit of a volume change there. So I would either want to see more performance-based kind of fading out of the notes in the samples themselves, or have it mapped to the mod wheel. But the mod wheel doesn't quite do, like, if I want to do a note, sort of a longer note that sort of quiets down, I can't really do that with the mod wheel in the way that I want to. I don't get the textural and dynamic changes that I'm after. And again, in part, that might be that the instruments don't really do that typically in that musical style, but I don't think so. And even if they don't, I would still love to do that because it sounds better to me. So that's one of the things I would love to see change there. Percussion. Yeah, let's actually load these up here as well. Percussion sounded really good. Again, my biggest criticism here is that I think they should absolutely include some pre-made kits in here, because it doesn't seem like they are in here, at least not in the manual, not anywhere here, not in the files that I tried to load here. Can I find anything that does that? So you have to build your own kits out of scratch, which I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed by. And I think this would be just having a few kits even there would give you a faster access point into what this sounds like and what it does, and getting to know the sounds and starting to play, etc. So basically, you got like more sort of like one shot like hits in here. Even if they sound like that, they are really, really good one shots. So you can almost, like, a few of them you can decently even play, even if they don't go for that super dynamic sound. So really good considering that approach. Of course, I would prefer to have like fully dynamically sampled to get all the textural differences and dynamic differences, of course. But they still hold up really, really well. And if you put together like a kit, they, sound great still. You get a pretty comprehensive set of them as well. Very, again, region appropriate. And they have these effect ones in here, which I actually think are really, really cool. Because they're obviously performance based. So they sound super, super great. The thing to note between the one shots and the effects are that there's quite a bit of a level difference, like 5 to 6 dB even. So the effects are hyper dynamic, but the one shots not as much. Well, they're not like done in that same sort of a fashion. Also, what I was expecting here was that in Arabian ethnic orchestra, the percussions were insane, and they had these kind of pre-made loops and layers and patterns, which were incredibly amazing. And I would love to see them also in here. I understand that the region-specific style in that would be probably more difficult to create loops and patterns for, because they tend to be sort of more dispersed. But I'm pretty sure you could do like a bunch of patterns for those as well. It would be really cool, because I really loved what was in Arabian ethnic orchestra. So I would love to see that same thing brought here as well, because that percussion thing in there was just insane. So I would love to see that here as well. Sparks, again, I absolutely love the way these sound. These are like S tier put together, just the balance of everything, how things hit. They sound big, but effortless, beautiful imaging, beautiful balance. So that's S tier stuff. Again, I understand this is maybe kind of like some kind of an addition to the library, like an extension of it, which is why it's probably a bit more narrower in terms of its offering than what I would like. Personally, I really loved, like in Jade Evolutions, which is basically like Jade Ethnic Orchestra taken into that ambient world building toolkit. I would love to see that same treatment for Pacha, for Arabian Ethnic Orchestra, because Evolutions is such a fantastic library. So that could be a solution. I think it would be amazing. But of course, if they wanted to expand what Sparks does, and I think this could be relatively easily done, is to have additional control over each and every single component that is in the layers. The biggest issue with the Sparks is that there are a lot of baked into elements into each layer here. And in Arabian Ethnic Orchestra, they at least had 3 layers, like I think synth, then percussion, and maybe like organic or natural or something with the like the regional instruments. But this one unfortunately has even less layers than that. So it seems like we only get 2. So that's going in the wrong direction in my estimation. I want less baked in stuff and more individual control, because like I said, I love these. They are beautiful. They are fantastically done. But it is often the case that I hear something, an element that I would love to pull out and not use, or accentuate an element that's there, or just use one element that's in there. So I would love to see layers for each and every single element in each of these presets. I think it would make this like 100 times better than it is already. And it is really good, but the problem is, again, you can't take out certain things. And that's a big issue and a big limiting factor for this. So layer control for each element would be amazing. Otherwise, these sound just absolutely stellar. And if they don't want to do that for Sparks, I would love to see Pacha, like Ethnic Orchestra Evolutions, for the more soundscapey stuff that can be controlled at an individual layer level. But I think that is it for this video. Again, I think this is a tremendous offering. I don't think there's anything like this out there at this quality, at this like diversity of the offering. And also the price is super appealing to me at this price point. Even at full price, I think the intro makes it, of course, even more appealing. But yeah, excellent job. So that's it for this episode. I'm sure many of you already have this at home or at your studio. So if you do, let me know what you think. And as always, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Finished.